Jerome Posonko here for Smart Means Business, and we're talking about business. Ebisere bisinga manja agala buli muntu afeeyo nnyo okulaba nti awuliriza ebiseera ebimu okulaba nga oteekayo nnyo amatu mu kye kirina okuba nga ogerwako naddala mu nsonga za business kuba biyamba nnyo buli muntu ali eyo naddala nga okwasaganya emirimu egimu oba emirala okulaba nga obaako akasente akatonotono okofuna. So kati ogenda okwekanga nga business no nungi nno woteekayo nnyo obwagazi ojja kwekanga nga business ekusanyusiza. You will see that you can do something out of it. Now, I'll tell you what, we are heading into our book review today. As this is the reason as the world is masterpiece. We are launching this. Reason as the world is masterpiece is one by the author, a businessman, successful entrepreneur, Mr. Hamis Kiggundu. So you can clearly see reason as the world is masterpiece. And what is a masterpiece? I mean, if you're a masterpiece, you're just good at what you do. Is you execute it differently from other people as well. Just a quick reminder, I'm Jerome Posonko on Facebook, Jerome Posonko on Twitter, Jerome Posonko on Instagram as well. And just a quick reminder as well, why don't you follow us on Smart24 TV, that is on Facebook, and Smart24 TV on Twitter. Do follow as well, give us your feedback, man. www.smart24tv.com. Look at the YouTube channel, we are streaming live all day, every day. Smart TV space live, hit that subscription button, it's quite important for you, so as we drive your businesses day in and day out. And trust me, it is going to be a journey. It's definitely going to be a roller coaster ride together as we are heading into the book review of Hamis Kiggundu. Just look at the reason as the world is masterpiece. He has two novels, he has two books. One is Success and Failure Based on Reason and Reality. That was the first edition. This is the continuation of the other. This one is actually looking at the reason as the world is masterpiece. Now, what is reason, first of all? I remember that we were actually looking at reason as we're actually looking this. And according to the author, reason is one's ability to analyze critically and make deep assessment and minor adjustments to the realistic prevailing circumstances in any aspect or challenges in life. Oh. Okutegera. Reasoning, it's just like omusomesa ajjakira kumatia kugambe reasoning bulungi mwana gwe sonko nakuba olina gamba gwe sonko reason properly oba lowoza. Reasoning is to think. And what do you do when you're thinking? It's like when you're starting up with a business and you're like, what am I going to do with this business? And you're like, okay, you see sonko, this is what we're gonna do. I am starting up my confectionery shop. I'm going to sell cakes, I'm going to sell ice cream, I'm going to sell sweets, I'm going to do this and this. If this is a confectionery shop, the thing that you need to understand, one thing you need to put in your head is your reasoning has to outbeat your competitors. It is the competition. Now, the reasoning is how you're going to analyze the issue. You are putting up a confectionery in a region which has over 70 of them. How are you going to attract the customers? It's how you're thinking. What is your thinking capacity? What is your capability? How do you reason? How do you analyze the situation? Reason as the world is masterpiece. Let's get onto it. All right. Now, if you look at as we are actually we're riding. It is a roller coaster journey. We are riding together, and we are on the second chapter of Reason as the World is Masterpiece. Now let's look at this. According to the author, reason is just like mathematics, science, physics, chemistry, all combined. Now, reason is absolute and direct. Reason does not give a false result because then it ceases to be reason. Remember, reason only gives a false result if at all it's not what you think. So it is always you thinking and analyzing. It's just like an opinion. Man, you cannot debate someone's opinion, for crying out loud. If someone has an opinion and it's like, you know what, I think Smart24 TV is the best TV station in Uganda. It is an opinion with facts. Because we run business stories, man. And if someone is actually running business stories, that is the same journey where every other person has to follow. Now look at this. Reason focuses on substances rather than formation, and that realistically done rather than that is ought to be done, where the end is automatically justifying the means. It is within the perimeters of reason that all the richest people in the world today simply find the simplest solutions to human challenges, and they are paid in billions of dollars in return. Now, it's always a great thinker. Now, one is reasoning capacity is what determines the end means of what you're going to receive. Now, for instance, you look at the situation and say, the wildly successful businessmen, all the investors out there, always reasoned beyond the picture. They always reason beyond other people, and every time you reason more than what some other person is reasoning, that means you're going to be more, you're going to be more active, proactive than the other people, because you are reasoning ahead of them. You are seeing something beyond. Just like you look at an entrepreneur, you see an entrepreneur is always someone who thinks beyond the picture. These are people who look at ideas and they're like, yes, this is it. I'm going to look for an avenue. I'm going to look for a channel. So when you look for a channel and see what is happening, that is how you utilize it and become the richest person. Because some other people are too myopic. When they look at this thing, they would see it from a short run. For you already looking at it ahead, that is why you would see that reason is one, is as the world is masterpiece, is one novel you should actually get, and it's one book you really need to read, and you can actually understand what is beyond, what is actually behind the success of the world's most reliably, or one of the world's most motivational businessmen and the world's most successful entrepreneurs. Look at this. If we think to survive, we should think to survive, but we have to reason to prosper. That is according to the author, Hamis Kiggundu. He says, if you think you're surviving, you need to think that you're living on a survival situation whereby the survival is for the fittest. But your reason behind this is to see how you're going to prosper. What is your journey to prosperity as you're reasoning? So you're thinking in a survival mode activated. But how are you going to get out of the survival mode and prosper? It is the journey. So if you're thinking of survival, try to reason your way into prosperity. Now, God never created planes for a man to fly, but gave him the brain with the reasoning capacity to create planes and fly. So you could see that is the same situation. God created all of us, and we were as dry or as empty as this cup when I'm done taking my tea. So if you look at that situation, but it was as we actually evolving as human, as the humankind is actually evolving, the human nature, that we get to adapt to the knowledge and skills that were enriched into us by the Almighty, that we start to carry out certain things that are going to help us in the day-to-day activities. That is why you will definitely see that God created us as his subsidiary to procreate together with him. He gives you the idea and the mentality for you to build from where he actually stretched for you. So he gives you the source. So it's you who uses that source to come up with an idea. But that idea is always driven by your reason to critically analyze how you're going to become successful. Now look at this. It is never too late to reason, and the moment one applies reason and reality, they are able to identify themselves. Now look at reality. You see, in most cases, before you reason, you have to step foot into reality. Once you realize the reality is this cup is, and I'm almost finishing my tea. If I still want more tea, I need to look for where the tea is to add. That is the reality. Now the reason is, how am I going to get the tea to fill up my cup? So you look at the picture. So reason is always how you're going to outbeat. So the reason is always how you're going to outbeat your competitors, or how you're going to outbeat the reality that is there. So you're always in a journey of survival. We're all surviving we're in a survival mode. So the survival mode has always been activated every year. Even if you wake up in the year and you start singing, this is my year, this is what, no, it is always in a survival mode activated. How you get out of survival mode is when you've already reasoned your way into prosperity. And it's still a journey where every one of us looks into that angle to see that. Now, thinking is basic, but reasoning is deep. You see, you can actually be out there in your slumber, deep in slumber, and then you actually abruptly wake up and you're like, well, I think I can buy a car. Sometimes I think I can buy a Range Rover. But when reality kicks in, I'm like, but so Korea le akasente ko ina kagula Range Rover. Ngatosobola na kugula ka Wish, ngatosobola na kugula ka Vitis. That is when reality kicks in and I'm like, kali. So then you'll be like, okay, but the reasoning is, how am I going to get this? Because, okay, I've thought about it. It's like you will be thinking, and you're like, Neso complete netaga yo mukazi. Netaga okuwasa. Chechirowozo. Now when you start reasoning, you're like, mukazi gwe netaga ali ati ne bwati mulabako wuyo wali. Naye okumufuna ngenda mumatiza ntya. Then you start reasoning. You organize the debts, you organize the, you get the money fixed, you organize the situation, you organize ebisera byonna wetaaga obeera ne sente okulaba nga you're going to lure this lady to become your wife. So that is the same thing. Now, we all think to survive, but not everyone applies reason to prosperity. This is according to the author. Once limited to thinking, we make quick, fast reason. We make quick, fast reactions to challenges before us. But with reason, we give it a second thought, which is deep and analytical before reacting. We think to survive, but reason to prosper. So many factors by human nature, like emotions and personal desires, affect our reasoning capacity. Many factors by human nature, like emotions and personal desires, affect our reasoning capacity. Now, here's it. Here's the situation. Emotions always outplay us in most cases when it comes to the journey to success. Nti wabanga your emotion or your character. If you look at even the human desires, we all have different desires. Ti waliwo omuntu ajja okugamba I need a bungalow, omulala agambe nze njagala flat, omulala agambe njagala mansion nga nene nnyo gye nalaba mu firimu, omulala agambe njagala vuga motoka bwetyo, omulala agambe nze sagala motoka njagala piki eno, omulala agambe nze njagala buli wenkeera mbere nga ndya bino na bino. Those are the desires that you want. Njagala mbere nga nyambala ngoye first class out from Dubai, from Paris, all those things. Those are the desires. Now, these always affect our reasoning capacity. Sometimes our reasoning actually goes overboard and we even forget the reality. That is on ground. Sometimes you realize and you say, I want to drive a Bugatti. But you want to drive a Bugatti. But your intake, your monthly income is 300,000. And out of the 300,000 is ono sasulako rent, mulina ochimanyi, ono lya, ono funa kezo okulia. So clearly ogenda okwekanga tetuganye so nkoli mukulowooza osobola okuvuga Bugatti naye nyingi zaayo tegula namu tesobola nagula kagaali olaba n'obugaali kati bwa mitwalo 6. So ogenda okwekanga you have to first move in the situation. You have to limit your desires, your personal desires, to fit into your budget. I do understand in most cases we have challenges when it comes to limiting ourselves, or when it comes to trying to actually build a bigger picture of what we can achieve in life. But limiting can actually be good as well if we can actually limit our desires in terms of and try vis-a-vis what we earn or our income. It will actually be of help to us as well. So clearly, you would see the desires, our personal desires, normally affect our reasoning capacity because we will always think out of the picture. We will be thinking that, hey, man, mfune mitwala 3 omwezi naye kirabika nsobola okuzimba kalina mu myaka 2 naye nga tonnaba ku reasoning anti kalina njagala. That is the reality. That is your personal desire. which other avenues have you created to actually make sure you build this flat? Or you set up this big mansion that you're dreaming of? Now, still with the situation of reason, emotions defeat reason. Now, look at these situations. So, emotions and personal desires defeat the reasoning capacity. Once one fronts emotions, then they don't hold the reasoning capacity to make proper analysis. Now, this is the situation. Instead of saying we let our emotions drive us, it's just like when you're going to start up a business and you're like, igweteba gambako. Bwe manyi wasoma nnyo. Ate omanyi obuzibu challenge eriwo nti omuntu waba yasoma nnyo alowooza mugezi nnyo, which is a bigger challenge. Nti omuntu n'alowooza nti kati ye yasoma. Nti watuula ku mmeeza n'annyonnyola mwabasigadde muba temulina kye mumugamba. Obwongo bwe kye bamugamba. Nti ne bw'omugambako ekintu aba alowooza akusinga okutegeera. Ne bw'oba omugamba ekintu ekigenda omuyamba ajja kugamba but nze nasoma kino na kino, nze nasoma. Sha, nze sonko. Nasoma. Ate kati waba yasoma n'otandika omugamba akasobola n'okuba oluyi. That is letting our emotions drive us. Then after the day you'll be like, ani gwamanyira oyo, ani gwagamba. Then you forget to reason out what they were actually telling you. And this limits our journey to prosperity because you're letting your emotions drive your actions. And every time your emotions overboard you or every time your emotions overcarry you, then that means the body is going to be so difficult for you to control. And look at it. Negativity equally defeats reason. Now we are looking at the reason as the world is masterpiece because we are looking at the situation where reason is one's ability to critically analyze or think out of the box and just as you see, reason out, to actually be beyond someone is reach, to see beyond others. That is the same fact behind reasoning. Now, negativity is a direct reflection of one's feelings towards a certain challenge or thing in general. Once one fronts negativity, then they don't hold the reasoning capacity to make the right decisions. Because if you're actually venturing into a business and then you get scared and you're like, I want to open up a tour company, but will people come? I'll tell them, you people, you're supposed to pay 350,000 for a trip to Kidepo Valley, and they will start saying, no, that is too much money. Now you're thinking for your customers who have not yet even given you the idea. There's a time you will actually say 350 and then someone would say, but is 350,000 enough for us to Kidepo? So you would see why, whenever you're limiting yourself, you're actually limiting, whenever you stage negativity, you're actually limiting yourself to success. And lastly, with this particular angle, with emotions, we do what we desire, but with reason, we do what is right. That is the issue here that I was actually saying. Emotions drive us to think we are wise enough. But reason, when you've critically understood the situation, you do what is right. That is why I was actually saying, in most cases, you'll find a challenge. If you ever met a professor at the university, most probably because they have a lot of documentations, they feel like they've seen a lot of chalkboards, and they will actually tell you, kati omuntu wagamba ekintu bwe kityo ye emotions ze zimudrive nze. He has the ability, alowooza his opinion is ye asoma nnyo kati oli mwana muto osobola n'okuba empi n'agamba gwe tolina magezi tolina ky'oŋŋamba, which is wrong at the end of the day because their assessment is different. Someone's reasoning is actually better than sometimes when you feel your emotions are driving you. So as we're actually winding up, reason sounds and seems so basic, but that is where its strength is. It is too basic to be easily understood. Too basic to be easily understood. And it takes reason to reason. We're just winding up with chapter 2. It takes reason to reason. As we will actually take from there tomorrow, we shall be looking at reason and humanity. Hey, here we are looking at reason and reality. Now we shall be looking at reason and humanity tomorrow. But not. This is actually a note that comes in from the author. What I have written is a personal opinion from a reasonable and realistic point of view, which may be a fact or not, depending on the reasoning capacity of the reader. Mark this right. What I've written is a personal opinion from a reasonable and realistic point of view, which may be a fact or not, depending on the reasoning capacity of the reader. We're still on the journey of making sure we actually uncouth the secrets between the reason as the world is masterpiece. That is Hamis Kiggundu's second written book in his series, where the first was Reason was Success and Failure based on reason and reality. And this and more is definitely going to come your way. This is Reason as the World is Masterpiece. We are into the book review, and we shall definitely be going deep with the fact about reason. What do you need to know about reason as the world is masterpiece? How can you reason beyond any other person? This is my means business. I'm Joram Paul Sonko. Do remember to follow me up on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Joram Paul Sonko. Well,